Welcome, everybody. I'm Carl. I'm back with you again. Another episode of the podcast. Um, I want to get into gig work. And I laugh because sometimes gig work can be the easiest job on earth that people make hard because they got to be human. So, let me tell you some of the good and bad points about gig work. Um, I'll start with the actual delivery part of gig work. So, regardless of what app it is that you use to do deliveries from some of the major retailers, I don't have to name them because you got Target, Walmart, Amazon, whoever else, depending on where you are, what you're doing. First thing that I got to say about drivers that they need to stop doing, stop telling how much money you make. Nobody gives a damn about how much money you make. Okay? First of all, you have a simple job. All you have to do is find an order, whatever that app sends you or you select, accept the order. If the money's good enough for you, go pick up the order and deliver the order. And when you do all of those, there's steps in between. Don't act like an asshole. you know, you don't have to go out there and, you know, go off and berate an employee at the store. You don't have to go and berate the customer. All you have to do is think like a caveman, see, do, get. You don't have to accept the job. You don't need to do the job if it's not something that you want to do, and do what you're supposed to do. It's not that hard. If it's a difficult order and you see that it is a difficult order, don't accept it. You know what I mean? And if it's a difficult customer because you had a run in with the customer before, or, there's rumors and, so forth about how bad the customer is, don't take the order if you don't have any confidence in having that order delivered. So, one of the things that drivers that I know that congregate a lot do is like they have a pissing contest. They have a pissing contest about what's wrong with that app or what's wrong with, you know, the delivery numbers and stuff like that. That's fine, but everybody is not out there to congregate and talk about that all the time. And if you get to know some of these drivers, you know, personally or whatever, it's just like with a regular job, you kind of leave it there. I don't want to hear about this stuff all the time. you know, it's like I'm that type of person. I'm an introvert. Believe it or not, I'm an introvert. That doesn't mean I'm shy or I'm afraid of people. I just choose not to be around a whole bunch of people all the time, you know. And that's another subject for a different episode. But I think sometimes drivers get into this mode of that they're the best driver out there. Or, yeah, I'm coming out here to make all of the money. First of all, everybody that's out there have different purposes of being out there. Some of them, that's not even their first income stream. That is part of an income stream. You know, it doesn't matter like if somebody's making $100 or $1,000 or more or whatever. Everybody has a different reason to be out there, and their reason may not be your reason. You know, I know when I first started doing gig work, and I'm gonna take it to the ride sharing gig work like Uber and Lyft and stuff like that. I did it so I can learn the area better. I was like, what better way to learn, about Florida than to take people to different destinations, some destinations that I may not have even thought about going to, you know. It may be a date night. I may want to take a young lady to some of these places that I'm going to or whatever, you know, just to get an idea of the atmosphere, the scene, and stuff like that to learn the area better. Okay. So, getting back to the delivery side of gig work, it's like enough of this, comparing paychecks. You know, both drivers, I could say driver A and driver B can literally do the same amount of orders and their pay is totally different. You have some customers that may tip the hell out of one driver, they may not tip the other driver. You may have some orders that's more than advertised because it might have got canceled. It might have been an order that sat around for a couple of days or whatever, and it surged to the max, and you might get, $100 order that's going 1 mile. Okay, great. But that person may have done 5 orders in 2 hours and they're already at $300. You can't compare yourself to what some other driver is doing out there. You know, they're competition, but they're not. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not a one-to-one, you know, effect. Because you really don't know what's on the other side of that order. Then you don't know how quickly that order, if you're pre-dependent on an employee at one of the retailers bringing out your order or having it set up somewhere inside the store where you have to get it, it may not even be ready. And if you piss them off enough, they may delay in getting you your order because they don't want your ass to come back there anymore, or they may cancel it. I mean, it's a person to person business when you go to the store and you have to deal with an employee at the store, and it's a person to person business when you take the order to the customer if the customer is available. And I'm gonna get into that because I'm gonna dig into you know employees and customers too, not just the drivers. And another thing, if you get personal with the drivers, and I started to talk about this at the beginning, just because you're engrossed into driving and doing gig work doesn't mean everybody wants to hear it when they're off, you know. And if another driver is not out there for a week and you bugging them on the phone all the time about it, I know me personally, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're talking about something outside of, doing work or whatever, I don't want to hear your sad story. And most other people don't want to hear it either. And just like working in a regular office, and I'll do a whole nother podcast episode of why I left the corporate world. I've been threatening that a couple of times. I will do an episode on that. You don't care about the politics around some of the places that you deliver for. Okay? You don't care about who's doing who's gay, who's straight, who's this, who's that. That's their lives. If I ain't sleeping with them or I don't have a particular interest in the woman that's there, I could care less. She could be sleeping with, 10 guys and 14 girls. I can care the hell less about what the hell is going on. You know, I mean, gossip is gossip and people are going to be people or whatever. But, you know, I'm sure a lot of people are like me. Like, if it's your life and you're having fun, I can care less if you're going through something. You need a little emotional or mental boost or whatever. That's fine, but don't drag me down into your pit of hell. I don't care. I know it sounds like a Richard saying that, but I got my own problems. You know what I'm saying? And usually, I'm not going to tell you a lot of stuff that's going on with me because I deal with stuff differently and so forth. There's sometimes, yeah, I may go out there and tell people certain things that's going on if they ask or whatever, but I don't volunteer information like that because I'm kind of old school. You kind of deal with your problems as you deal with them. And I think sometimes people with gig work, because it's such an individual job, that they feel like they have to talk to everybody, including the employees of the stores that they deliver for, or some of the customers, and all of this other stuff. I'm not into all of that, and most other people are not into that either. And then they wonder why you always get shunned when nobody sees you and so forth, because you've already took that information capital that's in people's mind. It's like, okay, I'm done with the soap opera. I don't want to hear this no more. And a lot of them do that. So, another thing that drivers do, now this is going towards the customer now. If you see they have a door that opens up towards you and they're not home, and you have to leave a delivery there, don't block the door. I mean, it's the most common sense thing that you could do that, a lot of drivers F up all the time. You know, don't put something in the rain, don't put something in the sunlight. If you can hide within reason away from the door so porch pirates won't, come and take their stuff or whatever, then, you know, do that, but don't block the door, you know. And when you're dealing with groceries, especially, I don't know why drivers do that. I try to avoid doing it. Um, I'll put it away from the door. Like if the door swings open towards me, an out swinging door, then I would put it as far away from the swing as I can, if that's the only place I can do it. And now to get on some of the customers. All right, you can order whatever you want, you know, but if you live in a gated community and you don't put a code up there, you don't answer the phone, you know, how the hell are you going to get your order? And then you be the first one complaining that nobody brought you your order. All right. So you live in a gated community, you live on a dirt road, or, you know, you live in an apartment and you put no apartment number. You don't answer the phone. What, we're telekinetic? I know where the hell you are. You see what I'm saying? And if you don't answer the phone and you put the order in there, God, I wish I could blow like $300-400 on groceries and forget that I ordered that much. Answer the damn phone. Put a gate code in there so somebody can find you and so forth. You know, um, I personally don't like delivering to apartments, and it's not because of traveling up the stairs as much as it is parking. Because you know you can be there for 5 minutes delivering an order. Somebody's bitching about you're in my parking space, you're this, you're that. I ain't dealt with that stuff in like 30, 40 years, as in terms of, being in somebody else's parking space and all that. That's when I had a townhouse. And, everybody has their own living arrangements or whatever. But it's like the constant bitching of your neighbors about a parking space that I'm going to be there for 5 minutes, and they getting all up in my face or whatever. And I'm like, I just ignored it most of the time. I'll say something smart ass to him or whatever, but it's like, you know, you see what I'm doing. Leave me alone. Just like some of the Karens that might be around the neighborhood or whatever. If you see a person, and I'm not even getting into no race or nothing like that, I'm just saying in general. If you see a person that has a whole bunch of items and you're dropping stuff off to the house, you know why that person is there. Don't act like you're the neighborhood uncrowned god of the universe and say, "Oh, can I help you? Well, what you doing here?" and all this other stuff. It's like, do you see all these groceries? Would you leave me the F alone while I do my business? I don't answer to you. I never do. I never will. Okay? You know? So don't even try me when I'm out there. And I know I sound like a total Richard saying that. But it's obvious, what I'm doing there. I'm doing the delivery. Just like I can work on somebody's computer when I get around there, just like I can hang out with somebody when I'm going to some of these places or whatever. I'm a multi, I'm one of those utility knives. I'm multifaceted. All right. I got the wine bottle opener. I'm the thing that'll cut a piece of paper. I'm the screwdriver. I could be doing multiple tasks. That's why I have a small business. I could be doing anything at any time. But when it comes to gig work, I could be there just delivering somebody's groceries for the month, the week, whatever. You know what I'm doing there. I mean, just like if I have a package, you see that I'm scanning with the phone, you know. I'm doing everything. You hear the damn scanner going off. Usually I have a headset on like a trucker or whatever. You know what the hell I'm doing there. You know, trust me. If I don't have to be around your neighborhood, I wouldn't be there. And other drivers are the same way, you know. So get off of it. And some of the customers that, you know, you have to understand, most of the drivers that come to your house are third party, you know. Yeah, you may, groan about your order not being delivered the day before. That ain't the driver's fault, okay? And 9 times out of 10, if the driver goes back and tell the employee of that retail store what you're talking about, they could, I don't want to say they could care less, but the way they do the daisy chain of complaints is better to call that number of what that customer service is that you already have set up. You know, you usually get an email if they do a substitution for your item or something like that. There's an email that's generated that says your item was substituted or your item was taken away or whatever. And most of the time, at least 80% of the deliveries, depending on your area now, the driver is not picking your order. Usually it's somebody at the store that's picking your order and the driver is picking it up. So he or she may have no idea, what was substituted or what was taken out of the order or whatever. All they doing is delivering it. They technically don't have to deliver it into your house. Some people do it as a courtesy. I know when people are older or whatever, I usually offer, even if they're not older. I mean, because a lot of times I'll carry it in, almost like a milk crate or whatever. And it's like, hey, while it's in there, I can just throw that stuff on your kitchen counter and keep going. You know what I'm saying? Make life easier for you, but not every driver is going to do that. So I tried to help out that way. But, you know, it's your house, and I understand with COVID and some of this other stuff that's going on. This is 2023. Everybody's thinking differently and so forth. And I get that. But don't take it out on the driver all the time because half of the time the driver has no idea what the hell you're going through and chewing their head off ain't going to make it easier for you to get deliveries in the future because drivers talk. They're going to be like, well, this customer was an asshole, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah, they was an asshole to me too. Guess what? It's going to be harder for you to get your order because drivers will see that address or see that name. Nope. Hey, I'm not taking this order, you know? And if you get a late order and the sun is down, turn on the porch light. You know what I'm saying? At least make it easier for somebody to see your address out there. Hell, I get orders delivered to my house or whatever. I make sure I cut the light on. Matter of fact, I have the automatic solar lights when people pull up or whatever. So they can clearly see my address and everything else. And I try to make enough room for them to get closer to the house so they won't have to walk a long way to deliver stuff and all of this other. I mean, make it easier for you to get deliveries and then you won't have issues in the future. I mean, you know, we all in this together, quote unquote. And the employees of some of these stores, you know, look, if you don't like your job, get another job. You know what I'm saying? Some some of these drivers are not trying to be nasty towards you. They might speak to you in general, whatever, and no, they're not trying to do you and all this other stuff. I mean, you know, you may think highly of yourself, but not everybody thinks highly of you. You know, sometimes it's just common courtesy. You know, you don't have to act like, you know, that person is trying to sit over there and mentally, you know, undress you with their eyes and all this other stuff. Believe it or not, they're not even thinking about you half of the time. You know what I'm saying? So stop thinking too highly of yourselves out there and, you know, and stop acting like you're on this high horse or whatever, you know. And I'm just saying that just for all purposes or whatever. And a lot of times I just think, like, look, it's just a simple A to B thing. If one layer does what they supposed to do, another layer does what they supposed to do, then everything will work in the system. And to some of these gig companies, stop undercutting some of the pay on some of these orders. There's a reason why some of that stuff doesn't get delivered. I mean, hey, if it's terrible pay, you get terrible work. You know, pay what the order should be. You know, I mean, and that's to all of them. You know, all of the gig work. I mean, there's some drivers that will take anything, but most drivers, I mean, gas has gone up, food has gone up, you know, and anybody that's getting paid is always the last to get their money and so forth, you know. And I understand it's a business and people are trying to hold, you know, some of their assets back and so forth and some of their revenue if they're making money back. But you got to understand, people got to get paid to do a particular job. You can't just expect top tier service if you're not going to at least give in within a tiered layer a reasonable amount. I'm not saying that, you know, an order going 1 mile always has to be a certain dollar amount depending on your area and so forth, but at least put a good faith estimate or a good faith number out there where it's like, okay, you know, I, I'll take this order or whatever. So that's a dig on some of those companies out there too, you know. And honestly, you're just making it bad for the customer. I mean, because usually I always feel like with some drivers, and this is, you know, I know I was making one point, but I want to make another point to some of these drivers that always talk about money all the time. They'll take a high dollar order and not look at how many miles they have with this order. They'll be bragging all day long that, oh, I got $100 order. Look how many miles you're going with that order sometime. You won't be bragging when you putting half of that back in your tank or whatever, you know? I mean, again, money is all relative. Hell, my $2,000 could be a hell of a lot better than your $5,000 because I don't have debt attached to it. Whatever your home life is, or whatever the circumstances are that you have, or whatever bills you have debt out of your mind, you know, so that money may not matter. And I feel like I'm talking to teenagers, but this ain't teenagers that's out here that's doing it. You're talking about people that's like in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s, 60s, even, that's going out there bragging about how much they're making. And I'm like, why? If you're making a killing the last thing you want to do is tell somebody else how much you're making, because eventually, you putting a crossbows on yourself for no reason. And I don't get why people are so quick to brag about what they have. The things I don't brag about, and I obviously, as a younger person, I used to brag about stuff all the time or whatever, like, oh yeah, I slept with this girl and we did this, we did that, or whatever. I mean, nowadays, my relationships are personal. You know, that's between me and her. Whoever the her is, that's between us. That means more to me than sitting over there bragging about it. And the money that I make or the money that I spend, again, that's a personal thing. I don't have to justify to you or anybody else what I have, what I don't have, what I need, what I don't need, who I'm with, who I'm not with, whatever. That is not a conversational point that I'm going to have with you. And you're not going to get anything out of me, and you're going to make yourself look stupid. You know what I'm saying? And this is part of gig work, folks. Because drivers will go out there and they'll be talking about stuff like that all the time. And it makes absolutely no sense. And you're just doing, I wouldn't even consider it a job. I just consider it making money. Because the base principle part of doing gig work, period, is to make the most amount of money in the shortest period of time. You don't want to piss off the customer. You don't want to piss off the employees. You never piss off anybody in that money chain. You know what I'm saying? You always want to treat people with respect. You want to be kind to folks. And kindness is not a weakness. That doesn't mean you have to take anybody's stuff either. You know what I'm saying? But in that chain, you don't want to piss anybody off, but you also don't have to be, somebody's doormat either. So respect gets respect, and kindness, goes a long way. But don't look at kindness as being a weakness. It's better to say nothing than to say the wrong thing. You know, if it's somebody that I don't like, and there's some people in the retail chain, if I do services for them that I don't like, I just don't talk to them. You know what I'm saying? I don't open my mouth. I'm like, you do what you got to do. I do what I got to do. As long as I don't disrespect you, don't disrespect me. It's just an old school type of thing. I don't have to come out there and curse somebody out all the time that I don't like. I don't have to always give lip service to them. But sometimes the best action is no action. You don't have to say anything. You know, just do your job, be professional. That's all you have to be. And a lot of these gig workers need to understand it's an individual business and everybody's doing the same thing. So why talk about it? Why get into it about it? So I'm not going to stretch this video out any longer, but I figure I'll get this little video out there to let people know. Just shut your mouth and do your job. Have fun doing it. Nobody wants to hear about your drama or anybody else's. Until the next video.